In this video, we look at the answer to why the known radius of the proton can be used to calculate Planck's constant. This is my representation of a proton, and my reason to theorize that E is equal to 2h nu for protons and neutrons. Light is a travelling wave on space and time. Matter is a standing wave in space and time. We do know that the energy in a quanta of light increases with frequency. Max Planck's formula, E is equal to h nu. If energy increases, then effective mass increases. That's mass energy equivalence. If frequency is proportional to mass for a quanta of light, then why would frequency not be proportional to mass for matter? My formula, E is equal to 2h nu, is depicted here. The proton radius riddle is more proof that frequency of oscillation is what gives mass to matter. In every way, I have shown that E is equal to 2h nu for nucleons. The fact that energy is stored in the proton and varies according to its velocity and position in a gravitational field is responsible for the properties we take for granted in everyday life. Gravity and inertial mass. I'll mention again, the Higgs Boson is nothing more than a wishful fabrication to justify billions spent on the Large Hadron Collider and to justify billions more to be spent on a much larger collider. It certainly points to the fact that people working at the Large Hadron Collider do not correctly determine results at the Large Hadron Collider. If nothing else, this result provides support for the measured proton radius, which therefore could be calculated more accurately from the more accurately measured mass. Proton radius riddle. H, Planck's constant, is equal to pi on 2 times c times the mass of the proton times the radius of the proton. Multiply both sides by 2. Then 2h is equal to pi times c times the mass of the proton times the radius of the proton. Multiply both sides by the proton frequency of oscillation. 2hf is equal to the pi times the speed of light times the mass of the proton times the radius of the proton times the frequency of the proton. 2hv equals mc squared, which is my formula from the previous slide. Then mc squared is equal to pi times the speed of light times the mass of the proton times the radius of the proton times the frequency of the proton. Divide both sides by mass times the speed of light. Then c is equal to pi times the radius of the proton times the frequency of the proton. Pi times the radius of the proton equals the postulated measured wavelength of a proton. Pi times 0.084075 femtometers. C is equal to pi times 0.84075 times 10 to the minus 15 meters times 1.135022879 times 10 to the 23 cycles per second, which is equivalent to C is equal to pi times F. C is equal to 2.997922914 times 10 to the 8th meters per second, which is 456 meters per second higher than the speed of light. If nothing else, this provides support to the accuracy of the measured proton radius. More accurate proton radius. This slide shows that by using the more accurately known proton mass, we can calculate more accurately the proton radius. My calculation shows the proton radius is approximately 0.00049 femtometers more than the measured radius. Proton radius riddle. Planck's constant is equal to pi on 2 times c times the mass of the proton times the radius of the proton. Therefore, the radius of the proton is equal to Planck's constant over pi on 2 times c times the mass of the proton. My calculation, the RMS radius of a proton is equal to 0.84123 422 femtometers. My calculation is approximately 0.0049 femtometers more than the measured radius.